Very special day. It's our inaugural day of Alienware Cup action. Navi, against the top 9 teams from the International 3 East. This is going to be an absolute doozy. I'm so excited and pleased that we're going to be bringing you this tournament, guys. It's going to be fantastic. Today, we'll start our action off with Group A. But before we dive into today's schedule, I want to talk a little bit about the tournament, introduce the team we'll have for you today. I'm LD. Of course, I'm joined here by Lumi. Lumi, good to have you back. Yeah. Glad you could make the journey.
Good to be back.
So, of course, it's not just us analysts here who will be broadcasting the tournament. We're beyond the summit. Of course, this Alienware Cup brought to you not only by Alienware, but also MasterCard, one of your title sponsors you can see here. We'll work on getting the overlay situated a little bit better. But Alienware, MasterCard, the big sponsors, deserve a lot of credit, a lot of support, and your love. There is a Dota TV ticket available for this tournament, and I say that because if you want to buy one, they're available now, $8 in the store, and you can get one using a MasterCard. Support the sponsors a little bit more that way. Of course, DPM Interactive, the organizer, us Beyond the Summit, we're your English tournament broadcasters, your hosts, GameFi, providing a Chinese stream as well. It's going to be a fantastic tournament. Very excited to be a part of it. Of course, it's not just the two of us. We have some casters as well. Purge, Blitz.
Hey guys, how you doing? I'm pretty excited to watch this. If we compare this to what we saw at the Eastern Qualifiers was the teams trying to get a qualifier spot for TI3, and now we just have the top tier teams that are already going to TI3. So
yeah, it's pretty much as stacked as you can get lineup-wise for teams. So if you want to watch top tier Dota, this is where it is.
Yep, and we're all pretty excited to see how Na'Vi does. We did get to see 2 Western teams match up against the Chinese a couple weeks ago at the G1 League Finals, and that was Team Liquid as well as Alliance. And we all saw how well Alliance did. Can Na'Vi do the same? What do you think?
I think Na'Vi's a team that historically underperforms where they shouldn't, and then you think, oh, well, we'll count them out, and then they come back, and then they just prove why they're Na'Vi. I mean, nobody thought they'd do as well as they did at the International, and look how that turned out. So they're a team that kind of just has that special flair where they can take a game off anybody just because of who they are.
Yeah, it should be pretty fun to watch that. The other teams in here, today we're going to be watching LGD China versus Invasion MUFC. That's going to be the first match. Keep in mind that the format is a little interesting for the tournament, all best of 2s. So that guarantees that the schedule is pretty static, and it ends up being a round robin into a bracket, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about the format as we move forward, but I guess I want to start today just by kind of looking at our groups and seeing how everyone feels about them, how we expect teams to do, any predictions we have.
Sure.
Of course, sort of one of the interesting things that is worth noting, LGD International, there's a bit of a scheduling snafu with them. Unfortunately, they are going to have to forfeit their first 2 matches, so they'll be starting 0-2 in Group A. That's going to make things tough for them, but Lumi, we take a look at Group A here, and who's your favorites? Who are maybe your dark horse in this group? Any teams that you think maybe aren't going to do very well? Of course, keep in mind, nobody gets eliminated coming out of the group stage, but your first place team, they are seated way far ahead in the upper bracket. So there is an advantage for first place. The other teams, it's more just about who you'll be matching up against in the playoffs.
So LGD China as well as Team DK's, I think, the clear favorites for a lot of viewers out there. And I think they are going to be the 2 highest seeded teams coming out of this group stage. But for me to actually choose a dark horse, I'm going to go with MUFC. I feel like their playstyle, as well as the fact that they practice against the Chinese teams, they would know a lot of how to beat the Chinese, and in scrims they actually could do quite well with the Chinese. So if I have to choose a dark horse, MUFC is definitely it.
Yeah, MUFC is the one Eastern team that I personally haven't cast in a while myself. They've kind of been off the radar. They're not in the Dota 2 Super League. Unfortunately, they weren't invited to that. Only Orange Esports was. So we haven't seen them there. They fell short in the G1 League, didn't make it. They're still a solid team. They're going to the International 3, but it's a team that, at least for the mainstream audience, we just haven't seen as much of these guys as the other teams. So it's kind of hard to say how they'll do, but they definitely have the potential, especially with Winter as the captain. I wouldn't say MUFC is the most talented team in the tournament, but they're a team that can win via strategy and just sort of good team decision-making, execution, not making sloppy mistakes. So
I'm also really looking forward to watch MUFC just for their different hero pool, because we've seen, for DSL, we've seen a lot of Chinese picks, and Orange has been picking quite a bit, very similar to the Chinese as well. But for MUFC, we're going to see some Tinkers, obviously, hopefully.
Of course,
and then,
if we're lucky.
Right, and then whatever other heroes that they usually like to pick. But
yeah, MUFC should be an interesting sort of dark horse. You look at LGD, they're a team that's been, I would say, on a slightly upward trajectory as of late, but still nowhere near their G League Season 2 status, where they were being viewed as sort of a top dog in the Asian scene. And of course, the problem for them is they start 0-2 in the group. They're going to forfeit their first 2 matches. That's going to make life, well, a lot harder for them.
You also notice that we haven't really been talking about Rattlesnake too much. They have been having I guess roster issues is a bad way to describe it, but it's internal struggles is another way. And they haven't been playing nearly as well as they did back in the Eastern qualifiers,
Right.
which they surprised a lot of people by coming out of the gates and doing very well against even LGD China.
I would say they're the team that's in the biggest danger of just getting swept through the group stage. Now,
Sure.
hopefully they'll surprise us. They certainly showed themselves capable of good performances. You go back to when they sort of had their coming out party. We could actually take another look at the groups, Jarrett, and just talk a little bit more about them. And for Rattlesnake, they're a team that looked really good coming out of the gates at the G1 League. That's where they sort of made their debut for most people. I think they played in a Gosu Cup before that, but hadn't really played any big matches. So for me, I'm going to agree with you that I think Rattlesnake is that team that might really struggle here, as well as LGD, and simply because they're starting 0-2 and they haven't been in top form. Of course, DK, LGD, China, those are your big dogs. Those are your heavy favorites. And DK, LGD's been in good form since the G1 League. DK, even more so over the past few days.
Yeah, just yesterday, their win over Orange, even though it was kind of difficult wins, they were really, really solid. They're looking really great. So I even put DK better than LG China.
Yeah, it's close.
Yeah.
It's pretty close. I would say these two teams are going to be the most evenly matched. And for me, just as a Chinese Dota fan, that'll be the match I'm looking forward to most in Group A. Of course, like Purge mentioned, they will all be best of twos. But we'll take a look at Group B here. And how do you sort of rank the teams in this group? This is I think the more interesting one to the Western fans, because you've got your Southeast Asian contenders, your fan favorites, and Na'Vi, or Neolution, Orange, and Zenith, and then of course Na'Vi, the team that everyone's excited about, the team that everyone's wondering how they're going to do at the International 3 this year. And this is going to be a teaser, a sneak peek of things to come.
I think this is a hell of a stack group. I mean, this group is as stacked as it gets. You could easily move one of the Group B teams to Group A, and they have a good chance of winning the entire group. And I have no freaking clue who's going to win Group B, but if I have to put money on one team, and maybe even a lot of people think this team is the dark horse team, I'm going to say Tongfu.
I completely agree.
If you want to rank in terms of star power, I guess, on the team, I think Tongfu is on the bottom of the list. But in terms of performance and how well they've been playing lately, Tongfu is definitely the best team for me.
Absolutely. And the thing with Tongfu is they've been performing consistently. They did make those roster changes. They added King J and Banana to the roster. And I mean, these two are playmakers as well as veterans. They don't make many mistakes, which is more than you can say for some of the other teams. And you look at this group, in theory, teams like IG might be the strongest of them all, but they're not in form right now. I would say Tongfu and, I mean, I would even say Orange. Probably Tongfu and Orange are the two teams that I look at, and I feel like they're the strongest teams in this group, at least based on recent performances.
Yeah, so I think DPM asked me to select my top two for each group. So I told you that it was DK.
What were your votes?
Yeah, DK and LG China for the Group A.
That's
and
pretty
then
obvious.
For this one, it's Tongfu and IG. And for IG, it was
Really?
really close for me to... It's like, do you want to go Zenith? Do you want to go with Orange? Because Orange is playing really well lately. So, but in the end, I got to go with my all-Chinese roster, and let's see if that's going to be it.
What a shocker.
Hey.
Our resident Chinese going with the Chinese.
You know,
that's something new. Something fresh.
I'm also looking forward to the IG versus Na'Vi rematch.
Yeah.
Both teams are...
Oh, man. So many storylines
Right,
there.
both teams are not exactly near their prime, but it's IG versus Na'Vi, so...
What else is there to say? And, well, we've introduced the groups a little bit. That the format, as Purge mentioned, is going to be round robin, best of two. Of course, nobody is eliminated from the group stages, but your first place seed from each group, they advance directly. They get seeded farther along in the 10-team double elimination bracket. Everybody will win some prize money. That's one of the really cool things about this event, and shout out to DPM and the organizers for doing it, because a team invests a couple months in a tournament like this. They sacrifice time and energy to compete. It's nice to walk away with something, and it's more in the direction of what professional sports do, where players, they get paid even if their team's not doing well. They still have a contract. They still have, of course, you get more compensation if you do really well, and that's the case with this tournament, too.
Yeah, I don't think any team showing up be like, yes, we get paid by losing 8 rounds.
At the same time, it's nice to know that you get something for your time.
Right.
And, of course, first place, I think it's $25,000, so a lot more there and something to really fight for. But moving along, I guess, we'll take a quick break, guys, and when we come back, we're going to introduce today's matchup, look towards our schedule, and talk a little bit more about what's coming up next. It's going to be LGD versus MUFC after this. Time to introduce today's first match. It's going to be LGD China versus MUFC. LGD China, they are them, Tongfu, and DK. These are the three teams right now that are really performing well in the Chinese scene. We're going to start off introducing the two teams, talk a little bit about the matchup, so we'll start running through them now. On LGD China, you've got Sylar, your hard carry player. This guy, his lone druid play at G1 League, highlight reel, I could watch that all day.
Yeah. He's probably the most consistent carry player, I want to say.
Yeah.
Doesn't make mistakes too much.
He's not the most flashy, aside from there was that moment, but for the most part, I don't think that's what he's really known
He always
for.
gets his job done, and that's what you want from your carry player. Yeah.
Quiet, solid, stable. That's actually true for a lot of the LGD players. They're not the flashiest team for sure, but Xiao Directorate, he's been all around the Dota map, all around the world. This guy's been through the grinder, so to speak.
Why is Kunkka not one of his signature hero after his recent 6th performance? He's the person that's landing blind horns all day. Don't even need X for setup.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure why Spectre's here, to be honest. Fire LD, I was responsible for these ones, guys. But, of course, we do have Yao. He's your... Sometimes he'll go solo mid. We used to see him there all the time back at the International, too. If they pick Invoker, he will. But I think most well-known for his off-lane mag. As of late, we've seen him on things like Darkseer. I think we've seen a lot more of that from him. Even Clockwork. He's played Kunkka as well in the tri-lane. And the one thing with LGD is they've gotten more versatile with their laning. We'll see offensive tri-lanes. We'll see dual lanes. We'll see abandoning the off-lane sometimes. Yao's
always playing that kind of extra random hero that might not fit with the rest of the strategy. But up next is DDC, a 4-role player. And the supports of these Chinese teams are always kind of the... unsung heroes, I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, well, we've seen the praises a lot of, I think particularly Chuan and Faith were, especially Chuan, very flashy support player, even Die for DK. But for me, I always looked at these LGD supports, DDC, and we can even look at DD now. And I never felt like they were the most explosive or crazy players. And, I always respected them as solid and stable. But I did actually look at LGD a few months back and say, I feel like they need more from their supports. But their supports have definitely improved. DD...
They stepped it up in the G1 land.
They really did. In the G1 League, and we'll take a look there at the rankings.
They're back, the Hexagons.
The Hexagons are back, guys. Congratulations. Hope you enjoy them. And, of course, we have updated these. But LGD China, they deserve these ratings. Second place at G1 League. They fell short of the Alliance, but they've been solid, consistent, and performing very well.
Yeah, maybe the drafting should... 8's around about right because they never banned Lone Druid against Alliance. Hopefully they will have MUFC's number better today.
Yeah, I would say that even the player skill could maybe be a bit higher here. But we'll move along to their opponents now, MUFC. We've talked a lot about LGD China. We've cast a lot of them as of late. MUFC, again, team that's been off the radar for us here at Beyond the Summit, and most of you guys from the Western community and even the Southeast Asian viewers may not have seen them unless they're watching the GST, the local cups. And we'll start off with Hontrash player, the hard carry player for this team. Fantastic farmer. Sometimes his decision-making, so-so.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Mushi in terms of late-game decision-making, and that's not what where you might want to be. No Mushi flames here. It just...
It's
for
fair.
example, yesterday, he...
Exactly. It's a fair criticism.
Yeah, and sometimes he gives you the great early game. He farms so well. Sometimes late game, All right, number 2, we're going to have FZ, which is your solo mid player. Wide range of solo mid heroes, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, he also has played a lot of Magnus. We don't have the Magnus on here because, frankly, his Magnus has been very dicey at best and something that maybe we don't want to see.
We probably won't see Magnus today, so I don't think that's going to be an issue.
Of course, we'll move along now to our 3-position player for MUFC, and it's TFG. I think the Darkseer, the most important one to talk about. MUFC is a team that will sometimes run, say, a safe lane solo and an aggressive tri-lane, and if they do that, you might see TFG take a Prophet, a Queen of Pain to that solo safe lane.
Maybe even a Puck. When he first came on scene, his Puck was really one of his best heroes.
The flavor text for him is actually that his Puck often gets him into trouble, which is what I think Winter wrote these. At least it sounds like it. We'll move along to the 4th-position player. That's going to be Lane. For him, we have a couple of standard supports because MUFC, they really like the dual roam. We'll see Rubik plus Lina, Shadow Demon plus Jakiro, a lot of dual roaming combos. I haven't seen them as of late, so maybe that's changed, but the jungle game is really what's interesting there with the Chen.
Yep. And of course, Winter, our friend Winter, is going to be playing mostly the heavy 5 role, and he gets no-go, boots, wand for the rest of the game, and he always plays very solidly.
I know everyone's sad that Winter isn't casting, working more with Beyond the Summit, or just in general as a caster, but hey, he's busy trying to win the International 3. So you look at MUFC, and I would say a solid team. I think their strengths are just strategy, from drafting to overall game planning. I think that's where they'll be strongest, but I think where they do struggle is just execution, player skill, micro decision-making, basically.
And against a team like LGD China, who is constantly in the limelight, the strategy are easily practiced against, and you can find out the drafting plan. This is where Winter's is strongest at. You could draft around it. You could pick what you think the best strategy against them is.
Yeah, look to Winter to basically carry the team, not through his individual plays, but more through his decision-making. So we've introduced the teams. We've talked a little bit about the rosters. Let's go to predictions. What do you think for this match? It's best of 2 format, so you win 2 games, you get extra points. You tie 1-1, you get 1 point. You lose, you get 0. What's your prediction?
1-1, and I'm going to
Really?
call it 1-1 MUFC because why not? Right?
Because you're rooting for Winter.
Right,
You're
I'm rooting-
fanboying a little bit.
Well, it's really 1-1 MUFC considering that a lot of people predict a 2-0 sweep for
Right.
LGD China, right?
That would be, honestly, if MUC can take 1 game here.
Yeah.
The way
It is
this,
1-1 MUFC, that's why.
I mean, that's pretty good for them.
Yeah.
I feel if they take a game, they'll be pretty, I don't know that they'll be happy with it, but it'll be a good start for them. For me, I got to say 2-0 LGD. They're playing
Yeah.
beastly now. I haven't seen MUFC as of late, and even if they're training a lot, playing those smaller cups and scrimmaging a lot, they're not getting to compete in these big tournaments. We're
Sure,
invited to the DSL, failed to qualify for the G1 League Land Finals, fell short there, and as a result, they're not getting those big matches to practice in. But we've made our predictions. We've blabbered on for a bit. Purge, Blitz, your thoughts on the match?
I'm going to definitely call for a 2-0 LGD. I think MUFC has some pretty good talent and all, but I still think that LGD China is definitely the better team here. And they had better hexagon stats, I mean, should be pretty obvious.
I'm going to go with Lumi, and I will bet on my indeterminate sex haircut that MUFC takes at least 1 game.
Isn't there a story with your hair for today, Will?
What?
You had a story. A
What
plan.
story?
You had a plan.
It's off
Oh.
the table.
No, it's off. Yeah.
The
All right,
secret.
the real question, is it going to be a 1-1 LGD or a 1-1 MUFC?
What do you mean? Wait, what?
Like
Did
who
you
you're
hear-
rooting for, basically.
Lumi said 1-1 MUFC. Are you going to say
Oh,
1-1?
that doesn't make sense.
It
Lumi.
totally
It
makes
makes all
sense.
it makes all the sense.
When does Lumi ever make sense?
Make a choice,
This
okay?
is just more of the same.
LGD?
Use your logic. Come on.
LGD?
Okay, all right. He's going to call a 1-1 LGD. So,
So if LGD goes 2-0, shave my head. Not my head, but I'll get a haircut.
Full shave, like
Whoa.
down to the
There
scalp,
is
or
no
how much do
way
you get
I
to
am
how much do you get to
shaving my
leave,
entire
Will?
head. I'm gonna go. We'll see. I'm gonna just let the barber kind of choose. It's
Ooh.
really sad too. I've gotten really used to this haircut. So
the not being able to see thing, or
yeah, it's you know, it obscures my hair, but nobody can call me Chuan's lesbian sister anymore.
it's really easy to play ping pong against him when he can't see the ball because his hair is in the way. So, I recently won a 21 to how many point 5?
I had points. I had like 8.
He had like 5 points.
I've
or
never
something.
played ping pong before. That's a lie. I don't
Okay,
know why I
you're-
did that.
You're okay for that, considering that. Okay, so we're into the game, guys. LGD Gaming versus MUFC. Now, again, if you guys have been missing for a bit, the drafting style is a little different here. We're doing basically stages of 2, basically. So you'll get 2 bans for each team, and then each team gets 2 picks, and then they'll do the same thing over and over again. If you guys take a look at the left side of the screen as well, the reserve time for LGD is actually down to 20 seconds. One of their players was actually late to join the game, so they got a 90-second penalty on their extra picking and banning time. So if you guys are confused, that is why.
Yes, and actually, I really like the way that the new ban system works. I think it allows for more heroes, and it limits how much of an advantage first ban, first pick has. And on
Does
top-
it that
yeah,
actually
it does influence it.
Okay.
And also on top of that, you get a situation where you can't just kind of blanket ban heroes anymore.
Mhm.
Before, when it was the 3-2 setup, you could just kind of see the first 3 picks where everyone was going,
Yeah.
and then blanket ban where they were weak, right?
You could be like ban 3 supports.
Exactly.
Or
So if they picked a solo, or 3 heroes from 1 lane, then they could just kind of take out whatever was left. Or if 2 supports are picked, then you take out all the good mids, and so on and so forth. But now you can't just do that. You actually have to really consider, you know, what is the pressing hero right now that they absolutely need.
Yeah, and especially in the later rounds, like you said, the blanket bans is the best way to describe it. Just a ton of bans at the end, and I don't know about you, but even in lower level scrims, for example, by the time you hit your 3rd ban, it's oftentimes just kind of a random guess. It doesn't feel as important when it's that early into the draft. There's only 3 heroes picked at that point, or there were previously, and I don't know. I felt like this is a lot more fun to watch, in my opinion.
Definitely is. And for LGD, we see that hero, Visage, so popular. We saw it in the Asian scene. I think it was the #1 picked hero in the TI3 East qualifiers.
Yeah, it was, and nobody really saw that one coming. He barely got drafted before then, was occasionally picked up by a couple teams, but really not that common at all, honestly. But now he's really dominating things, so Visage gets first picked. The drafts coming from MUFC is going to be a Wisp Chaos Knight combo, so that'll start off a possible duel or tri-lane. They can go into a lot of mid-game ganking if needed, and a hero like Gyrocopter actually has to be pretty careful in the mid-game before he gets his BKB.
Yeah, I'm gonna call out Winter because I remember when I used to host Mad, he told me that Wisp was just like a bad hero.
Oh, damn.
They didn't
Gauntlet
think that they
thrown.
could use it, and I know AUI called him out and he's like, "It's a good hero," and then he said like, "Just watch." Well, he didn't say that, but I'm not gonna throw AUI under bus. But he did say that Wisp was a hero that they didn't think they could really utilize because they didn't think it was good in a tri-lane and so on and so forth. But I mean, it's a hero that's become really popular. I think the West has influenced the East enough in this sense that they recognize that the mobility of the hero is so powerful. Once you hit level 6, nobody is safe.
Yeah. And just think of what happened at TI2 actually. There was very little Wisp play. I think one of the few teams that actually drafted it was Darer, and this is the combo that they were using was Chaos Knight Wisp. And were these heroes even... I mean, I think a Wisp got slight buffs between TI2 and now. But he has also gotten subsequent nerfs as well, so just took a while for everybody to pick him up and finally start drafting him.
Yeah. They make the God, I can't actually. What was the spirits? They don't get vision anymore.
Yep,
so
that was a recent nerf.
Yeah, it makes it a lot better if a hero sees the TP coming, then you can just TP out, and the spirits won't see you immediately, and you don't get reality rifted and killed.
Yeah, there's a couple other small changes as well. I believe like Overcharge, it has a 2-second cooldown on toggling it, so you can't just pop it on and off really fast. And I think they also changed some of the vision things based on his ulti as well. Like gives more vision for your opponents or something like that. So a bunch of little changes to Wisp here. But regardless, he's still about the same. He can't have as many tricks, but it's really not that big of a deal. And impressive that LGD actually hasn't burned any of their reserve time yet. They're still at 20 seconds here. I'm sure they're working really hard to make sure they know that that they want to draft here.
Yeah, and they're gonna ban out the enchant.